6 unbelievably mysterious cities found underwater. Anti-Rhodos. Sometime during the 4th century, the Egyptian city of Alexandria was hit by a huge earthquake followed by a tsunami of epic proportions. An island called Anti-Rhodos was sunk during the process, taking with it Cleopatra's palace and a former wonder of the ancient world, the Lighthouse of Alexandria. This is reported to have happened a few centuries after Cleopatra's demise, and her palace is rumored to be buried in a small bay under 10 to 20 feet of murky water. Greek geographers and historians described the island and its location in texts, helping people remember that it once existed even though nobody knew where it was. It was also known as Anti-Rhodes because of its competition with the actual island of Rhodes. The sunken island and its royal contents remained largely a mystery until the 1990s, when a French archaeologist named Frank Goddio studied the ancient writings of the Greek historian Strabo. Aulos. Home to a population of around 40,000 at its peak, Aulos was a Dorian city of ancient Crete situated along the Aegean Sea. The ruins are so close to shore, they are visible to the naked eye. Aulos was one of around 100 Minoan cities that flourished between 3000 BC and 900 BC at the time. It fell along a major trade route that connected northern Crete with the Aegean Islands and the rest of the Mediterranean. Because the city is conspicuously absent from historical texts, most of what experts know is gleaned from archaeological evidence. Findings from underwater surveys fall in line with the suspicion that Aulos was a wealthy port city. In addition to basic buildings, the ruins include roads and the remains of a Hellenistic fortification consisting of a defensive wall and tower. Phanagoria. Founded around 543 BC by ancient Greeks fleeing from battle in modern-day Turkey, Phanagoria was a coastal settlement on the Taman Peninsula in what is now Russia. Covering an area of around 190 acres, it was a bustling trade center and one of the most influential settlements along the Black Sea. Several times during the course of its history, Phanagoria was ambushed by invading armies, especially as its importance increased. But the city managed to maintain its dominance in the region through its loyalty to the powerful Roman Empire until the Huns sacked and destroyed it during the 4th century. After all that, Phanagoria managed to regain its power and continued to flourish until sometime during the 10th century, when it succumbed to an invasion for a final time. The settlement was ultimately abandoned and a new city was built over its ruins during the Middle Ages, but that city was also deserted, and the site has not been inhabited since. The ruins of Phanagoria were rediscovered during the 18th century. Port Royal. Once known as the most wicked and sinful city in the world, Port Royal was located on what used to be Jamaica's southeastern coast. It became one of the New World's largest European cities by the late 17th century and was a haven for vice. Rife with drunkenness, escorts, and other forms of debauchery, the natural harbour was at one point controlled by the notorious pirate Henry Morgan, who became lieutenant governor in 1675. On June 7, 1692, a massive 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck Jamaica, instantly liquefying the sand that Port Royal was mostly built on top of and submerging buildings, roads, and people into the Caribbean Sea. Next came tsunami waves, which wiped out most of the remaining undestroyed parts of the city. Otlit Yam. As sea levels rose after the last ice age, coastlines around the world shrank, submerging settlements and forcing people to repeatedly move inland. Of the dozens of these underwater sites that dot the modern-day Israeli shore, Otlit Yam is among the best preserved. Situated in the Bay of Otlit along the Haifa coast between 26 and 36 feet below today's sea levels, this pre-pottery Neolithic village dates back 9,000 years. Marine archaeologists discovered the prehistoric settlement in the 1980s and excavated it between then and the year 2000. During that time, they found numerous artifacts revealing how people dealt with the rapidly changing environment and introduced new technologies. Otlit Yam contains the world's earliest known freshwater wells, with 7 megalithic stones surrounding a spring in the middle of the site. Unlike most settlements of this type, Otlit Yam yielded numerous human burials, which bear evidence of a population that struggled with malaria, tuberculosis, and a near condition related to cold water diving. Simina. Dating back to around 2000 BC, the ancient city of Simina was a small fishing village during ancient times. Located near the uninhabited island of Kekova of modern-day Antalya, Turkey, the Lycian settlement was also an important trading post. The Lycian civilization was unique to the Mediterranean coast of present-day Turkey, making Simina an important archaeological site. Made up of a democratic union of cities known as the Lycian League, Lycia is considered one of the world's first democratic systems. Simina boasted the smallest Lycian amphitheatre, an acropolis, shipyard, church, temple, walls, and more. Several of these structures and features sank during the 2nd century when a series of cataclysmic earthquakes gradually submerged the city, which sat right at the water's edge until then. Some of Simina's ruins, including some residential homes and staircases, still peek up from the water, making them visible to the naked eye. The remains of the city's public baths can be found along the shore, with an inscription identifying them as a gift from the people to the Emperor Titus.